Yo, what up, my name is Derek, and in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to optimize your Windows 11 for the best performance, and just so your gaming experience is a little bit better if you use Windows 11. Now, before this video starts, I do want to say that Windows 10 is still better performance-wise and input lag-wise, but if you do like the new aesthetics that you have and the features you have with Windows 11, then stick with Windows 11. It's really up to you and what you want to do with that. So let's get into this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the settings bar and we're going to go to the settings, like I said, go to the Windows updates. And then I would recommend making sure you check for updates. So if you have your updates paused, what I'd recommend doing is actually going here and checking for an update. And if there is an update, download it and install it and then restart your computer and come back to this guide. And once you have done that, then you can pause it if you want to, or what you can do is you actually can go to your task manager and actually disable it in the services. So if we go to services and scroll all the way down, there's going to be an actual Windows update service right here that you actually can disable. Now, most likely this is not going to disable all the time, so you'll have to actually set a registry tweak. Now, if you want that, we will get into that a little bit later in this video. But if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. I will just say though that every time you update your Windows, if it automatically checks in the background, what's going to happen is the tweaks that you do, some of the tweaks will get reset once you update your Windows. Just bear in mind that if you don't care that the tweaks are going to get reset, then don't worry about it. If you still like to get the best updates, the newest updates, then don't worry about that. Now, once you have figured out your updates situation, what we want to do is we want to go to the start menu and just type in PowerShell here. Now, make sure you actually run this as an administrator. So we're going to run this as administrator. And once you have it open, we're going to go and copy this command. You can type it in however you want. It'll be in the description of this video. Type it in like so. It is a GitHub link essentially that's going to debloat your Windows so that we can get rid of programs that you don't need. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, if we go to our apps here, these are all these apps. So you have like these Get Help and Get Started and Feedback Hub, a bunch of applications that you don't essentially need on your Windows, that you don't use. Yes, you can right click them and uninstall them. This is going to make your process easier though, and for sure make it so that they're disabled. So once you have ran this thing, first of all, this will create a system restore point for you. If you don't know what that is, essentially it's going to allow for you, if you run into any problems or you want the programs back, it's going to revert it back to the restore point in case you do want a restore point or you don't want these to be applied. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to, first of all, we're going to go to customize block list. And what this is going to do is going to open up a list so we can select which programs we want to actually keep. So, for instance, maybe you want the Xbox app. Maybe you like I don't know. Um, maybe you like Spotify, and maybe you use like the Photos app. I know that's another thing. Let's keep the gaming app here. Let's do Photos. Let's keep the Photos app here. Let's keep the modern flat. Now, if you download programs through the store and then you run this will show the apps from the store will show up here. So keep that in mind. So like for instance, modern file isn't for everybody. Like it's not pre-installed. I installed it through Microsoft Store and then that's why it's there. So I want to keep that one. I would like to maybe keep the notepad as well. Paint, maybe if you want to keep Paint, I'm going to disable Paint because I don't need Paint. VP9 video extensions, I'm also going to keep. And Windows Edge, or not Windows Edge, Microsoft Edge, I'm going to keep as well because I use Edge. Sticky notes, I'm going to keep as well. You don't have to disable all of these, just whichever ones you think you don't need. So I'm going to kind of disable the ones that I don't think I need. Make sure you disable OneDrive. We're going to go through OneDrive a little bit more. What you'll do is you'll save this now. Take some time so that these are selected and they don't get blocked into your, so they don't get deleted. So once you have saved it, you can just exit out that thing, and then make sure you don't click on remove all bloatware. Make sure you do remove bloatware with custom block list. So you're going to see in the background here, what it's going to do is it's actually going to delete certain programs in the background. Now all the bloatware is uninstalled. Now this one is a little outdated. As you can see, this is a Windows 10 debloater. Keep that in mind, but it gets the job done. If you do want OneDrive uninstalled, also uninstall that as well. Get that a little bit so that can uninstall. All All right, so that's uninstalled. I'm also going to disable telemetry and tasks so that that can get removed as well. I would also recommend disabling Cortana as well if you don't use Cortana. And that is pretty much it for the debloaters section. Now, I do want to talk about the applications if you are using Windows 11 because it didn't delete all of the applications. So, for instance, like the camera app, it didn't delete. Some stuff is like hard coded into Windows. Now, if you do like if you really go into Windows 11 ISOs, you can actually like disable them and do like that. But it removed all the main bloatware. Some of the stuff I am going to install, like Disney Plus, I'm never going to use Disney Plus on here, so I'm going to uninstall that. Microsoft To Dos, I'm never going to use that, so I'm going to delete that as well. Um, Maybe this video editor, I can't delete that one. But you can see that it deleted most of the apps that are on here that I don't need anymore, just so that they're removed and you don't have to use them anymore. Now, the next thing we're going to do is actually going to go through the Windows settings here. I'm just going to kind of go through the Windows settings and just show you ones that you should have disabled and enabled. So for displays, I would like to just keep this the same. As you can see, make sure the scale is set to 100%. For sound, it's all personal preference on your sound situation. Just make sure your audio is set to 100, unless you need to have it lower. For my microphone, I need to have it a little bit lower here. You can also go to more sound settings, and you can actually um, disable certain things you don't need. So you can see I have everything else disabled and showed and hidden. For sounds, if you don't like the Windows default sounds, you can actually disable it from here. Just type in or just selecting those sounds right there. Notifications, I'd recommend turning off all notifications just because they can be annoying. Focus assist, this is kind of up to you, but I'd recommend turning this off. Anyways, I think if you turn off the notifications, that automatically turns off. For the power state, we will talk about the power state in a little bit. I'll give you guys a custom power plan and kind of a program that will help you with your power plan. Storage, this is all based off your. I wouldn't recommend turning on storage sense. I'd recommend turning that off. Just don't really touch anything there. Kind of manage your storage based off of what you download. Multitasking, if you use multiple if you have, like, 2 monitors and on your second monitor you have, like, multiple programs that are snapped, keep the snap windows on. I use it, but if you don't use it, you don't have to have it turned on, but it's not that big of a deal. I would just leave it on in the first place. Activation, I'm not gonna show that, but that's just, your activation stuff. Troubleshooting, that's there. Recovery, and some other stuff that you really don't need to worry about. Unless you wanna, like, not have a clipboard, you can also have a history if you want to. Just turn that off, leave that off. It's gonna have cache in your windows, and it's gonna have stuff in the background running. Bluetooth and devices, if you have Bluetooth, you can disable it or you can enable it depending on if you want to use it or not. Same with printers and scanners. If you use a printer and you have stuff like this, you can keep it on. We're going to leave it on. I'm just going to leave most of this stuff on just because well, you can't actually disable it from here. But if you have stuff plugged in or use this stuff, just leave it on. When it comes to the network stuff, this stuff's kind of complicated, but it's also based off of your personal preference as well. But if we go to more network adapter settings, we actually go here and manage some of these stuff here. So one thing I just want to show you guys is a DNS server. So just go to your Internet Protocol IPv4, go to Properties, and then inside of here, enable a DNS server. Now you can do a DNS benchmark if you look up on Google DNS benchmark, download the program, and then run the benchmark, what it's going to do is it's going to test out tons of benchmark or DNSs to see which one's the fastest for you. It will also allow you to test your own that your ISP already has. But for my knowledge and my testing, it's best to go with Cloudflare's, which is 1.1.1.1, which is for the preferred one, and then alternate is 1.0.0.1. Press OK, close, and then close there. Some other things you can do is like data usage. If you want to do data usage, I wouldn't recommend touching this stuff. There's also things like delivery optimization. If you search it up, delivery optimization, you can see here, this is your delivery optimization. You can disable this. You can actually limit your stuff too. I would just recommend not turning this on at all just because you don't want to use this. But this is mainly for Windows updates and Microsoft apps. This isn't going to be for if you download applications through like your browser or something or on like for a game launcher or something. That's not going to go through here. That's pretty much it for the network situation. Personalization, this is all up to you as well. Backgrounds and stuff like that. Now, some people say to just use a solid color. It's really up to you on what you want to do there. I have Wallpaper Engine in the background, as you can see, so it's up to you. As long as you have a decent computer, you should be able to use whatever you want when it comes to backgrounds. Um, your taskbar, I like to disable this stuff. It's up to you. If you don't use any of this stuff, just disable it. And that's pretty much it for that. We kind of went through apps, but things like apps, like if you have any other apps in here that aren't shown in the all apps, then delete them here. Now, when it comes to the gaming section of the settings, if we go here, we can actually disable the game bar, which I would recommend you do if you don't use the game bar. Like if you don't have an Xbox controller or you don't use the Xbox stuff, I'd recommend disabling this. Same with the captures. If you don't use the capture, I'd also recommend disabling this as well, and also the game mode. If you want the game mode running, because some people have experiences where their performance actually increase with game mode enabled, you can test that for yourself. I'd recommend just keeping it on for now. It's really not going to do anything. It's not going to do any harm, and it's not going to go absolutely. It's not going to make your Windows way faster. It's just going to optimize it just a little bit better. As you can see, it turns things off in the background while you're gaming. Now, another thing you can do in the gaming section is actually called the graphics section, which is the um, hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. Now, this will automatically be turned on for you, so I'd recommend just leaving this on. But what you want to use to actually utilize it is you want to set programs to actually have the best performance and actually use that hardware acceleration GPU acceleration. So if we go to our custom apps, we can actually select either a desktop app or a Microsoft Store app. So we're gonna press on browse here. I'm just gonna use my Forza 5 shortcut here. I'm gonna add that. And then I'm gonna go to my options here, and then I'm gonna set to high performance, save that, and that's gonna be running in high performance every single time it runs, and it's gonna be using the hardware accelerated GPU scheduling 100% of the time. Some things like accessibility is up to you as well. This stuff is all just personal preference as well. That's usually what most of the setting stuff is, anyways. When it comes to privacy and security, um, this is all based off of if you use the Windows Defender or not. You can disable it, you can enable it, you can do whatever you want to do with this. I think Windows Defender is the best one out of all of the defenders out there. I don't or antiviruses out there, but that's just my personal opinion on that. If you use like Bitdefender, I know Bitdefender is really good as well. Or if you use like Malwarebytes or Avast or something like that, you can definitely use those as well. But then you'd have to disable the Windows Defender and go through that hassle if you want to do that. Some general stuff you might want to disable is um, stuff like this, like just this tracking stuff that you probably don't want websites knowing, and your location and all this other stuff. You probably want to disable all of this stuff. You can go through that and you can check to see whether or not you want this stuff enabled or not. Because I know some people do like having these settings on, just in case of, you use a certain program and needs your location or whatever, then you might want to keep it turned on. That's pretty much it for the settings. Um, the next thing that we're going to go through is actually the power plan, because we do want to set the power plan. Um, but actually, before we do that, let's go to adjust performance, just the appearance and performance of Windows, because I was about to forget about this one. So what you want to do with this, okay? You don't want to just set it to best performance because it's going to go like this, right? What you probably want to do is do this one and then just untick things you don't want, or this one and you want to tick things you want. So for example, if I want the rectangle, which is essentially this. Maybe I want smooth edges on screen fonts. Maybe I want shadows under Windows. Probably not. Let's do shadows under this one. These are all my personal preference. You don't have to do this stuff. Um, I'm gonna enable it like that, and it's kind of up to you. And you're gonna see like when you move it around, this is already different. You can do enable peek, which essentially is hovering over a program and seeing what stuff is. So you can see that. See it now when I do it now, it's not gonna work. Um, Smooth scroll list boxes, like you can do all types of stuff. I would recommend just doing it to like this and just let this sit. You're not going to notice a massive improvement of performance. It's going to be a very small. It's really just going to make your windows snappier, and that's pretty much it. The next thing I think is important is your paging file. just make sure this is set on programs, but then go to your change. And then inside of here, make sure it's set on your Windows that has the games on it. And then set it to your RAM size and then double that. So if I have 16 gigabytes of RAM, but I did 15 here and 30, this is usually automatically set at like, you can see the recommended is 2900. Some games can have problems if it's too low. They will crash. You'll get certain problems with the games. And sometimes, if you set it this high, it will allow for your computer to um, use its actual physical like memory coming from your. If you have an SSD or whatever, it will use that instead of your RAM. That's essentially what this is going to do. So I'd recommend turning that on. If you want to save that, you have to restart your computer for that. Um, but just keep that in mind that you probably want to have that enabled and set pretty high. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the power plan situation. So, power plans are a very big thing when it comes down to your performance and pushing performance from your CPU and your GPU and the rest of your computer. And they're pretty important. So, what we're going to do is we're actually going to download Process Lasso here. This will be linked in the description. And what you want to do is you just want to download it and go through the settings like I'm going through. So, I'm just going to enable some of the stuff here, install it, and then it's going to run. So you can see it's running right now. It's telling me my power plan, my current power plan, my usage, my responsiveness, my memory load, my programs that are running in the background, and so on and so forth. It's going to show you all of this stuff, right? What we're going to do is we want to head up to the settings section and go to these. Actually, go to main, and then what I like to do is I like to disable the pro balance because I don't think it's very good. So I'm just going to disable that. Also, what you can do is you can actually set specific power plans that run with Process Lasso. So if we head to the power section and go to the performance mode, you can actually see change power plan when engaged, and you can actually select the specific power plan when it's engaged. So you can see it's bit some highest performance, but you can see that we're not actually running that right now because that is for the performance mode, right? So if we have performance mode enabled, you're going to see that this is going to change to bit some highest performance. We are actually going to disable that just because it's going to um, keep certain programs running better than the other ones, so I'm not going to enable that. But what you can do is you can have start process lasso with power profile, and this will actually make it so you can use the Bitsum highest performance power plan instead of the high performance power plan that comes with Windows 11. So if we click on this, you're going to see that it's going to change in the right section. We can even go to power plan on our Windows, and it will show up the exact same way. As you can see, Bitsum highest performance right here, and hits Bitsum is essentially just going to allow, it's going to disable CPU core parking, which I will get into in a second. If you don't want to download Process Lasso, I will get to. But this will run in the background of your Windows. And you can also, if you want to, you can run certain things on this thing. Now, I don't know why it's super like laggy right now. I don't know why that is. But if I were to go to Discord and set the affinity, I can actually set the affinity to not use every single core. Now, if you have like a 4 core and 8 thread CPU, just leave it the way it is. But if you do have like a 16 thread or something, or even or 18 or an 8 core and a 16 thread or anything higher than that, then what you can do is you can set certain programs to only use a certain amount of cores instead of every single core so that your games get more performance out of those cores. If that makes sense, you've probably heard of people doing it before. I have a video on it as well. Um, but you can essentially set that up so that certain programs use certain parts of your CPU and then the games use the CPUs or the cores that aren't used by the rest of the stuff on your Windows. So just keep that in mind. That is for Process Lasso. We pretty much just set up our power plan, and that was that. Now, the next program that we're going to use is QuickCPU. So just look it up. You can actually download it from Process Lasso or get the link from Process Lasso as well because they are kind of built together, but we're just going to use it through here. We're going to go all the way to the bottom here until we get to the download section. So we're just going to download the latest version right here. So 64-bit, download it. Going to extract. Now, we're going to just install this program here. Once it's installed, just launch it real quick. And once it's launched, what we can set is we can set our CPU parking. So you can see it's open here. It's going to load data on your computer. Once it's loaded, it will show you a bunch of stuff like your clock, your temperature of your CPU, your utilization, and a bunch of other parts. Sorry for those noises. You can see the It shows you the power plan that you can select. It shows you the number of cores. It just shows you a bunch of information on your computer. Don't mind my temperatures. My computer isn't great. The cooling isn't great. Just don't mind that stuff. The main thing that we're looking at is the bottom section where it says core parking, the frequency scaling, turbo boost, and the performance. Now, if you didn't set the power plan with Bitsum, what it's going to do is these numbers will be all whack. They will probably be around 60% or 40% or something. What I'd recommend doing is setting these all to 100%, pressing the apply section or the apply button, and those will apply to your computer. Now, if you want, you can take the time to actually go through this program and figure out some more stuff because this program has a lot of different stuff you can monkey with. But for me, it's I don't really know much stuff, and my CPU is pretty limited anyways. If you do have a unclock like a 9900K or one of the new Intel CPUs or even the Ryzen ones, you could come in here and you could probably start monkeying with stuff. But I'd recommend sticking with doing that with your motherboard instead of doing it through a program, just to make it a little bit more safe, so no problems happen where you overclock your CPU using this, and then you can't do anything after that because you can't clear your BIOS or do a flash or something. So you're pretty much stuck. And just stick to your BIOS. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a debloating our GPU drivers. And so we're going to go to GPU Tweaks here. And inside of here, what we want to do is we want to go to DDU and we want to run the uninstaller right here. Now, it's going to ask you some things if you probably close some programs in case you have like MSI Afterburner or any type of like overclocking program. It will disable those. Now, once this option shows up, the only thing you have to do is prevent downloads from installing so that your Windows updates does not install it. Because what's going to happen is you're going to delete your drivers. It then will ask you to restart your computer. It'll restart your computer. Then Windows will realize you don't have a graphics driver and it will install like the latest one for your hardware or whatever, and then you'll have to do it again. So just make sure you do prevent downloads from drivers or of the drivers of the Windows update. Do that, press close, and just press OK. And now we want to go to GPU, make sure it's set on NVIDIA, and then just press on clean and restart. I'm not going to do that because I'm recording, but clean and restart's the best one. Go through it. It'll restart your computer. Your scaling will be changed. Your everything will be changed. Your hertz will be changed and everything like that. So just keep that in mind. But once you have restarted your computer, what I want you to do is I want you to go back to the GPU tweaks folder. This will be linked in the description, by the way. Go to the NV clean install link, double click it. What it's going to do is going to load in all of the drivers. So we're going to press on manually select the drivers, click on the drivers, and now here's where it gets a little tricky because some of the newer drivers perform just as good as the other ones, but the input lag isn't maybe as good. So what I'd recommend doing is going to the bottom. You can see I can't download all of them because I am on Windows 11, but I'm going to press on show all versions here, and then I can scroll down and you can see you get a lot more versions here. What we're going to do is we're going to go to 350 or 457.30. And for the versions, I would recommend sticking with the non-DCH versions just because they are a little bit better. So we're going to press on this one right here, press on next. Then inside of here, it's going to ask you what components you want to install. I'd recommend disabling everything, even the physics one, even though that's kind of recommended on some programs, but most programs already have physics enabled as it says right here. Press next. What it's going to do now is it's going to actually install the files for this driver. We're just going to let this install here. What you want to do, once you have the installation tweaks menu popped up, is press on disable, perform a clean install, show expert tweaks, disable this, and then use the method capable with compatible with the easy anti-cheat. Just enable that. You can also enable the message signal interrupts if you want to, but I'd recommend just leaving the way it is. Press on next. It's going to ask you to install your Windows driver. I'm not going to do that right now because I am, as I said before, I'm recording my video. So just press on next. It's going to ask you like just any other Windows install. Do that. Go through it, install it, and then you can set up your NVIDIA tweaks through your control panel, which I'm going to show you right now. So instead of actually going into your control panel, by the way, I will show you how to use it with NVIDIA Profile Inspector. So once you have your control panel open, if you do use control panel, these are kind of the settings you want to enable. Now, I'd recommend not having VSync on and G-Sync, but I have it on right now. I'd recommend turning that all off. But this is kind of how you want to do it when it comes to the settings. This one is auto. You can turn this on or auto. It really doesn't matter. It's up to you, but this is really the main thing you have to worry about. Now, these settings are not going to apply unless you have it set in here. Make sure it says use the advanced 3D image settings and then go to manage 3D settings and then set these settings to how they are on my screen. Now, if you don't want to do that, if you want to make it a little bit faster, what you can do is you can actually run the NVIDIA Profile Inspector. So we're actually going to click on NVIDIA Profile Inspector, click on these little arrow down by the import profiles, and then it's going to ask you what profile I want to use. So we just have the nanny low latency NIP. So we're just going to use that here. It's going to apply. Now, if it gives you this error, just press on OK. Doesn't matter. Let it apply all the way through. Press on apply. Make sure you just click it a couple times to make sure it's actually applied. You can close this now and we can go to the video control panel. And you're going to notice that the settings inside of the video control panel have changed for the 3D settings. So keep that in mind that this will change them. What I'd also recommend you doing in the control panel is making sure your refresh rate is set to the max you possibly can with your monitor. Color settings, if you like the high vibrance, you can change that to 100%. I like high vibrance, so I keep that at 100%. Another thing that you probably don't have access to, and that is GPU performance counters. If we go to the desktop section up here, we can actually enable the developer settings. So to say, enable that, and then go to manage GPU performance counters, and then allow access to the GPU counters to all users. The final thing that I'm going to show you in the control panel that a lot of people don't talk about that much, but it's kind of already built in if you do use my, or not, it's not my NVIDIA profile inspector, but the one that I use, it's already implemented in there. So if we go to program settings, we can actually set a desktop manager, which is the DWM. So if you don't know where that is, just go to the browse section on here. So just press on add here. And if it's not in here, just go to browse. And then it's going to be, you can just search it in the System32, look for DWM, click on this one. It's going to add it in here. Once it's added, you're going to see right here, scroll down to the performance of the power management and just make sure it's set to prefer maximum performance. Most likely it's set to optimal power. Just make sure it's set to prefer maximum performance and you should be good to go. Press on apply once you have done all that. You can close your the video control panel. Now I'm just going to go through some useful programs that you can use just to kind of clear memory and increase or decrease your input lag. So we're going to use ISLC. You've probably heard of this program before. Before we even use the program, I want to show you guys what to do with it because some people will open it, set it to automatically restart, and then delete my optimization folder. What I'd recommend you do is just copy this folder right here into your documents file. So just go here and paste it in your documents file so that it's never deleted, so that you can always run it, so that it automatically runs in the background every time you run your computer. And this will clear memory, and this will make sure your latency in your time resolution is set to 0.5. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to double click this, and you can see this is what it shows. You have probably seen this sometime in your life. So what we're going to do is we want to press on a couple of things, okay? The very first thing, I'm going to go over here and change this number to half of your system total memory. So for me, it's about 80,000, 80, yeah, 8,000. So I'm just going to do this. We're just going to do 8,200 here. We're then going to make sure we do start ISLC minimize and auto start monitoring, and then also do the task scheduler one as well. And now that's going to set right there. That's a separate one than the timer resolution. So what we want to do over here is type in 0.50. Now, to get rid of the point and the zeros at the end, just press the delete key on your keyboard and those will go away. Make sure you enable the timer resolution and then press start. And you're going to see right away that timer resolution goes down to 0.5 milliseconds, and there you go. Okay, now if we close this, you're going to see that it's going to be running. It's not going to run down there, so you have to actually make sure you minimize it and not press the X there, just to kind of understand. You can see now it's running in the background, and we can double click it, and you can make sure it's running, minimize it, and it's going to show up there. It'll also show up in your task manager where the startup section is. After you restart your computer once, it will show up there. Now, the final thing is just some registry tweaks just to get the most performance you possibly can out of your computer. So simple tweaks, this is just going to be some simple little registry tweaks that you can enable, so like the game scheduling and some network throttling stuff that you can enable if you want to enable there. And then we also have an advanced tweaks, which is a lot bigger, has a lot more tweaks in it. As you can see, there is a lot of tweaks in here. Now, I know some of you will be like, I don't want to, I don't want to set these because I don't really know what some of these do. If you look at what they actually are, you can kind of understand what it's doing. You can also look it up online. Some of the stuff, like for this, kind of increases the snappiness of your computer, and helps with like input lag, and also your internet. Some audio stuff over here, some spell stuff, some keyword stuff, some simple just like tweaks you can do. Virtualization. This is some mouse tweaks to help with your mouse and make it a little bit more smoother. You have some more game config stuffs like for game mode and stuff like that. Some telemetry stuff, and just some other stuff that's going to help you improve your performance all around um, in your computer. Now, if you, like I said, if you don't want to run this, you don't have to run that one. It's kind of optional, but I'd recommend it if you don't really care that much. There's also a bunch of optimization discords that you can join and you can follow, and custom Windows and ISOs and Windows 11 ISOs that you can install and test for yourself as well to see which one gives you the best performance, because everybody's computer is different and everybody's hardware is different, and everything that you do is different than the other person. That's something that I always talk about and tell people. But anyways, if you stuck through the whole video of this 31-minute video, I think this is my longest video. That's why I'm stuttering so much. Like I'm just like my mouth is dry. I need some water. I just need to take a break. But no, I hope this helped you. And if this really did help you, if this improved your performance in any way, just hit the like button, subscribe. I make content like this all of the time. I will be posting more content, or trying to at least. But anyways, hope you guys liked the video, and peace out.